Alright, I got it ready to work on now. It's a really long bike due to the amount of rake it's got and the chopper look. You know, it could easily try to roll off the lift. I rolled it all the way up here, tightened this clamp down on the front tire. Then I put this lift under the bike, jack it up. And I normally do it where both tires come off the ground. It's a little heavy on the back, that's fine. All I'm after is getting the front tire up off the ground. See, the front tire's in the air. So I got to take all this off and the fork's out and the fork's all the way apart. So with it being so long, with the possibility of it rolling backwards and crashing off the lift, I put the straps on it here. And as I jacked it up, I loosened those up to let it come up, but those would hold it from, it might roll back a little bit, but it ain't gonna do much, you know. It's just better safe than sorry. Ask me how I know that. Well, I'm just saying. All right, this is a 2010 Honda Fury. I put it up on my lift. It clamped the front tire, clamped down. Then I put this baby lift on it. Jack it up. And you can get it however you want it. You can get both tires off the ground. Oftentimes, if I'm doing a bike, electric glide, any bike, I'm doing both tires, I'll do that. But actually, I like to do the back with the front clamps. But anyway, I stuck it under here. First stab, I got the front end light how I want it. The front's off the ground, see? The back's lightly touching, but that's fine. On this job, I put the straps on here because you can see it's on the bleeding edge of rolling backwards and rolling off the lift or something when I'm trying to, right at that point when I'm trying to unclamp it and clamp it, and you know, there's a possibility of losing it. So for safety, I put the straps on it here and got them snug, and as I jacked it up, I loosened off on the straps. That way, if it came off, it wouldn't have gone very far on me. Being safe. Ask me how I know. Well, I dumped on in the past. So anyway, I'm replacing the fork seals on this bike. What I'll do right now, I'll take it apart pretty much, and then I'll do another video and stitch it all together. So it'll be one video by the time it makes YouTube later on today. But I'll take the axle out, the front wheel off. I'll unbolt the calipers here. Take them off. Brake caliper. I'll take the fender off. And before I take them out of the triple clamps or the triple trees, whatever you call it, I'll reach in here. It'll be probably a 6 or an 8 millimeter hex with the axle out. You got to have the axle out. Then you go in there and unscrew it to take the forks apart. And they'll leak oil, but it's just kind of easier to do with it still clamped. Sometimes I always try to loosen it with the ratchet first. If that don't work, I stick my air wrench in there, zip, and zap them out. Sometimes they'll spin on you. If they're trying to spin on you and you hadn't got an air wrench, just push this up with one hand. Hold pressure on it. That makes the spring push on the bottom assembly down here, and hold the bolt tight while you get it loose, because it will spin freely on you. It's about 50-50. Half the time they'll want to spin on you, and about half the time they'll break on off, come on loose, you know. So that's what I'm doing. And then he's got the bag on it here, and loosen those off, loosen that off. Got the blinkers on it, they'll come out of that. Just whatever it takes to get them totally off the bike. And then, oh yeah, another thing. I'll loosen this cap before I take them out. I'll loosen this bolt. If you don't loosen that, it's clamping down on the threads. loosen that one. I'll keep these tight. I'll loosen this one first, and I'll get these loose. Then I'll slide them out, take that cap all the way out, and pull them apart. The way you get them apart, I'll probably show more about this in a video later. After you get the forks off the bike, I'm going through this fast. If you have questions, just ask me. After you get the forks off the bike, and you got the screw out of the bottom, you got these caps out, and you take all the crap out of the inside. It's already 4 minutes. This video's going to take a month to upload. Let me see here. To get the forks apart, you pry this up. This will have a little metal. That's just a dust. That's called a dust wiper. Oftentimes you can get that with your seal kit. There it is. See this metal clip right here? There you go. So you just pull her up like that. That'll let you take the forks apart. After the screws out of the bottom, the screw screws into the damping rod that slides up and down with the piston inside it in the tube. So you take the screw out of the bottom, you take that clip off, you have this cap all the way out of the top, you take the spring and the guts, everything you can out of them, you have it out for here, you have them loose, and then like a slide hammer, you hold it here with one hand, here with the other hand, and boom, 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 jerk them apart, and it pulls this bushing out right here. Then they come apart. Then you can take them totally apart, replace the parts, the seals, whatever, what you're going to do, the bushing kit, whatever you're doing. Clean it up real good and put it back together. Over here on this side, you screw that bolt out. Then you just tap the axle out, pull it out. Pay attention to your spacers. Sometimes they're different length spacers, so always put this spacer over here on this side of the bike, leave it there. If there is one here, put it over here on this side, leave it there, then you can't mix them up. Alright, these fork caps, the damping rod is threaded into this cap with a lock nut. This washer will be real close to the cap. You stick a screwdriver in there, pry it sideways, it pushes down on the spring. Then you can put your 14mm wrench on that lock nut and put your 17 up here, break it loose, unscrew it, take them apart. Alright, I always take the forks all the way off. Like this one, I've already pulled it apart out here off the bike. I've got the top caps off. Slide it all the way out to where you get this off the bike, the tube here. Put one hand here, one hand here. I lift this on the bike so I can show you while I'm holding the camera, while I'm holding my phone. See, it'll slide. I'm just gonna knock it like a slide hammer till it comes apart. You gotta have the screw out of the bottom down here, straight up. Gotta have that out. And here we go. I'm gonna just slide it and bump it on out. So I'm not having to go hard at all. You can go heavier, it don't matter. There. Down here, when you put it back together, this piece goes here. And the screw in the very bottom goes through that, screws into here, screws into there from this hole here. And then when you take it apart, here's this one still together, here's this one apart. There's the fork leg. There's the screw in the very bottom, and we'll just kind of work up. Here's the cartridge. When you get it out, you'll have to pump this. It acts just like a syringe, and oil builds up in it, and that's where the damping comes from. They call these cartridge forks. So you'll pump it till oil quits coming out. And when you put it back together and you're adding oil, you pump that. Before you put the cap on it, you pump this rod to work the air out of it as you put oil in it. You get oil, pretty much add most of your oil and pump it, bleed it. Usually on these bikes, on the street bikes, if you read it holds so many ounces or so many cc's of fork oil, normally you can pour it all in there and then just pump this to no longer getting air bubbles, then put her on together. So anyway, here's the screw at the very bottom, blue Loctite's nice on that. Here's the fork leg. Here's the fork cartridge. That screw screws into that thread. When you put this cartridge in, that little fitting goes back over it. So I'll leave it actually like that. The screw goes into here, it's through here, this is slid up onto here, and screws into there. And with that in, the fork tube, here's the bottom bushing that slides up and down. See how it's lighter color there? That's where, when they're brand new, they're dark like this, kind of a gray, really slick, probably like a Teflon coating. This is okay, but now you know some fork kits are the seals only. That's what I have for this bike here. I've got Maxima 10 weight fork oil for it, 2 bottles, and all balls seal kit. It's the 2 seals only. So you put it together, that onto that, this end, the rod to the tube here. That's a bushing. This is the top bushing that goes up here at the very top last after you get this end. And I'll do a better video here in a minute where it'll be simpler, easier to understand. I'll kind of get it together, but I'll leave it apart where you can kind of see how it works. So this is all the, right here. These go together without the spring in it, but with the rod is in here, and this tube is in the leg, and you got it bolted up. Maybe not all the way tight. That's easier kind of when you get it together and bolt it up tight. You already got this bushing in it. It's down in here. You slide it. You lay them out just how it comes off. So then you slide this on, and this. It goes on like that, just right on top. Here's your actual fork seal. And of course, the lip goes up towards the sky. This piece here goes down, this side goes down. It's obvious that you do them, but when you take it apart, just pay attention. Lay them out the same way it comes apart. There's that ring on top that holds the seal in. Here's the dust cover that goes in. It could have used new ones. It's all cracked up. This is just kind of made to wipe the bigger stuff. The cracks, I mean, it'll work fine, but it'd have been a prettier job if I'd have had the kit with the dust wipers included in it. So that's that. I'll put it together here a little bit and show you. All right, all I've done, the damping rod here, the little piece that goes on the bottom of it, this piece. I've got it on inside here on the damping rod. I have it through the fork tube. The fork tube slid on, and this bolt and the bottom of it holding it together. It's not tight yet. I'll do that after I get it the rest of the way together, and normally I'll put a little bind on it up here and tighten it up if it tries to spin. And then you can add your oil. This is compressed. This tube's all the way down. You put your oil in it, and you can do this to bleed the oil out. It'll be easy to move when the oil's not in there good. When the oil gets in there good, it'll be harder to move. It'll have damping, like a shock absorber. Then you can thread it up, put it together, put the spring in it. This goes on top of the spring. This tube on top of that preload. And after you bolt it together, you can slip this washer under it, and you're good. So that's pretty much it. It looks scary, but it's not. It's a few parts, but it's very simple. You just pay attention to how it comes apart. When you take it off, slide it off, lay it down, slide it off, lay it down, slide it off, lay it down. You know, so that's it. I hope you have good luck on your fork seal job. Feel free to holler at me if you have any questions or want to chew me out or whatever. Now, after getting them together, you slide that top bushing in. Where is it on this fork? Right here. The top bushing. It fits right there down in the top. Then that goes on top of it. The seal. I've already tapped it in. I made a bunch of these at the machine shop. You could call it like a fork seal driver. It's split for upside down forks. But the conventionals don't need to be split. Put it over there, and this one all I had to do was tap this like that. And it seats that bushing down there in the bottom right there. It's flush. It gets everything low and flush because you need thickness for your fork seal. I take grease. It greases the inside of that fork seal. It tends to help them seal better. It's a wise thing to do. You can get, they make the special slippery or grease for it, but any grease, anything, even oil, anything's better than just nothing, you know. So then I'll put it on, get down there as far as I can, then I'll put this over it. So I've got a bevel on this. The flat side is to knock that bushing in a while ago. This bevel is to clear the lip on the seal. It'll go on. Then I'll take this fork seal driver like this. Pop, 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 pop. And knock it down till it gets in enough to where I can see the groove to put this clip on. And that's it. And yeah, you can save a hell of a lot of money if you buy a fork seal driver for your bike, even if it costs you 20, 30, 40 bucks, 50 bucks. You're still going to save money if you buy the tools to do the job with. You can be very, very, very careful and talented and do it with the screwdriver. You can slowly tap that seal in out here on the very edge, but trust me, that's a real easy way to, if you scratch this tube, you're going to leak oil. Speaking of, I forgot to mention that, check these tubes out for rock dents and dings or the chrome coming off. If you find a rough spot, take a file and go crosswise like this, not up and down, but crosswise, get it smooth, and you'll be all right, unless it's a bad place. If it's bad, get on eBay and just buy you a used tube. I think that's it. Putting oil in. Since this has the cartridge, I'll have to grab it like that and pump it after I get the oil in it. to get the air out of it, and you'll feel resistance. You'll feel resistance when it gets out, when you work the air out of it. No big deal. No surprises. I mean, I think I pretty much showed you and told you everything on the video here. The one side, the left side, has the cartridge. The right side over here does not. When I say right and left, I mean as you're riding the motorcycle. This over here is the right of the bike. That far side is what we call the left side of the bike. So the left side has the cartridge. The right side has a regular piston. A shorter spacer over there, a longer one on this side. So just keep your forks separate and you'll be good. One more thing, I have seen fork seals, aftermarket seals that are a little loose. These have a good bit of resistance to them. But if they're really loose, if they're brand new, you grease them and they just slide around really easy, they're probably going to leak. This seal here has two springs. See those springs? You can take them off and there's a joint. It unscrews. You unscrew it like a small piece of jewelry and that spring just becomes a long piece of spring with the thread on one end and the regular end on the other. The thread will be a tapered cone looking funny thing. Chop that off about this much and then screw it back together, put it back on here, both sides, and that'll take your problem away. If they're loose, if they just feel, and I know if you've never done it, you're not going to know what loose or tight is, but that's food for thought. Most always the seals are going to work out of the box, but I have seen them really loose. And so I'll tighten them up. I'll take them springs off, take my wire cutters and just snip, I guess about 1/8 inch off of it, screw it back together, put it on there, bam, it's tighter. Now, yeah, in the supercross world, motocross, dirt bikes, high performance, you don't want stiction. So there's a fine line between sealing and leaking and performance and stiction. But, if you're not a totally world top class pro, I promise you're not going to know if your forks have a little bit of stiction or not. I promise you. I did a whole lot of racing about 100 years ago. And yeah, suspension is the whole key. You've got to set your suspension up to really work. Then you can fly. Because if the suspension ain't set up, you ain't gonna do nothing. But that's a whole nother world. Anyway, that's a shiny cover right there. Where is that cover? Right there. Y'all have a good one. Feel free to holler at me. I'm out here in Texas. Oh, you'll probably read about setting the fork oil height. That's the best way to do it. If you have the fork oil height measurement, that'll be the spring out like this. This cartridge tube will be in it. Cartridge rod will be in it. Spring out with it pushed all the way down, and you measure from right here to the top of your fork oil. That's your fork oil height. But with the street bikes in the real world, just look up what the manufacturer says and look in a few forums, research it for 30 minutes, get 2 or 3 or 4 answers, and you'll know how much oil to put in it. And if you want to do it by height, fine. You can take a regular tape measure, burn an inch, stick it down in there, hold your place, pull up, and I've got a special suction with the tube on it and the graduated marking device. I've got all that stuff. You can see it right there. There's the syringe and the rod and the ring. You can do all that. But it's not necessary at all on a street bike or. I just wanted to mention that so you wouldn't read about fork oil heights and you must do this, blah, 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 and then freak out because I didn't say nothing about it. So there's always 2 ways to do it. You can put the amount fluid ounces or cc's or milliliters, or you can do it by fork oil heights. Fork oil heights is always this fork tube pushed all the way down without the spring in it. Then you measure from right here to the top of your oil. So that should be it. I keep thinking of stuff and throwing it in here because I'm trying to give you the full meal deal. I'm not particularly a teacher. I just do this all the time, and I've always done it. So I'm just trying to put stuff out here, maybe help you out if you're wanting to save $1 and do it yourself, or if you're like me and I just always enjoyed it and I always wanted to do my own work so I'd know how it was done, how it works. You know, it's a guy thing. And some of you chicks out there are doing it too, and that's cool because it's all good. It's like anything in the world. If you enjoy doing it, doing it. You know, 900 years ago, I golfed a little bit on the par 3 courses. It was fun. Not no more. I don't want to chase a ball no more. You can, all right? Maybe you like to, you know, shoot paintballs. I don't. Of course, I'm an old geezer. I don't really like to do anything no more except lay down. All right? All right. I hope all this will fit. It's going to take a month to upload all this.